Okay, today mostly we're going to talk about typography and color. And just to review certain concepts that we should know about as far as those are concerned. Now, when we talk about typography in apps and typography in websites, it's a little different. I understand that. Um, as well as color can be different as well, the way that you measure color. In the apps, in the Xcode program for app design, we can measure in RGB values. Okay, so let's just open up Photoshop for a moment and talk a little bit about color. The other thing to keep in mind as far as color is color management. Um, Let me just get up just any kind of thing up here. Let me get this. You might get a picture from a photographer. Let's just say you work at a company, right? And you have a professional photographer take photos of the products or whatever you're doing, and they provide them to you. A lot of photographers use special formats and special um, color profiles that are linked to their cameras or in their system. All professional photographers have a system that they use, and so just be aware of that. Um, Let me open a photo if I could. A Gene photo. Well, there we go. A lovely Gene photo. So in this case, be aware that as far as color is concerned, if you're working with images and things like that, there is also a color profile or convert to profile. See these inside of Photoshop here? You have color settings, assign profile, convert to profile. These are very important for you to get colors that are matching, especially if you have multiple photos in your design, right? You're making a design, you're making a color comp, you're making an example of what an interface would look like. You're using multiple photos, maybe from different areas. If you assign a profile in the same profile, then colors won't shift on you. I have that problem where, like I said, there's photographers who take photos and they use specific profiles. So if you look, the most common profile is the sRGB. Okay, most cameras, this thing sRGB, right? This thing here sRGB. But again, a lot of color. See RGB right here, sRGB right here. This is the most common, but you'll look, woo! Look at this. Okay, what are these profiles? Well, most of them are for printers and so on. So one way that you might need to go to make sure that all your photos are in the same profile is you can change the profile. The problem that you have maybe though is your colors may shift. I have yet to find a simple solution to that. One of the ways that I've done it is open the picture up really big and take screen capture of it and then use that screen capture. Because that Pro Photo RGB, you see that one right there? Pro Photo RGB? I had a photographer take a bunch of photos of products for me, and they're all in that color profile right there. And when I go and change it to sRGB, all the colors shift. My product turns green instead of yellow. And I don't have a solution there. Like I said, how I got around that problem was I left it in Pro Photo, opened it up big as I could on the screen, and then took a screen capture of it. But I have yet to find a solution on how to convert it properly. I don't have an answer to that. I guess I have to do some research. But just keep in mind that there is color profiles, and if you're going to put images all together into a layout, right? I'm talking color comp here. You can probably assign them all the same value right there. Again, sRGB is the most common. You want to assign, again, there is one assign profile right here where you can change it right here. Working sRGB and hit OK. And that then makes that. So what I'm trying to say is maybe take all your photos that you're going to put in your color comp or you put where you're going to do it and put them all to the same color profile. That'll help you save as far as color management. Again, in Photoshop, where was that at? It was under Edit. Convert to profile. Look, oh, maybe this might be my solution here. I don't know. Okay, let's talk about color management. So again, most of the things we've been doing, when I was making a sample design, Remember when we were doing the list, right? And I was demonstrating how to use Photoshop. Remember, I was using mostly vector tools right here. So again, vector tools are just objects that you can put on your screen. Again, here's your color setting right here. And so this is the standard color picker. So whenever I'm choosing colors inside of Photoshop, these are the ways that you can choose your colors. These are the ways that you can manage your colors in programming as well. Remember we talked about HSB, or was it HSL? Otherwise, B for brightness here, but L is lightness. In CSS and programming, they use L, I believe, and not B. I don't know why they have B there. B for brightness, then it should be L for lightness in CSS programming. Like when I say CSS, it's HTML programming, you know, the web page programming. You can use these values, and of course there's an A in there in CSS as well for alpha, which you don't see here, the alpha. This is lab different. Lab would be for printing. This comes from back in the printing days. Same with this, right? CMYK is printer. You know, as far as screen design, the ones we're dealing with would be these ones over here. Okay. You have RGB values. You can have RGB values in Xcode. So when you're doing app design, you can use these values here inside of Xcode. Web design, you can use these or this, and you can use RGB in Web too. The CSS, when they went to CSS 3, I guess it is, you know, they added a lot of capabilities for color, transparency. I remember when we went to transparencies and so on. Again, hexadecimal values are this ones right here. You can write them down and use them. I tend to like hexadecimal values because they're quick and easy, right? You know, why do I have to deal with 3 numbers here when I can deal with 1? Right? And if you don't know your favorite, I remember my favorite color from 1995 when I was making my first website in 1995. My favorite color was 33CCFF, or referred to as light sky blue. And in the days, back in the old days of HTML and CSS program, you can actually type in light sky blue in the programming, or of course you can do your hexadecimal values here. What is the hexadecimal value? Well, it's a base of counting, right? Decimal is what? Binary, I mean, it's 2, right? And so on hexadecimal, 16 base, I believe, where you have 0 through 9, then you have A, B, C, D, E, F. 6, right? So you have numbers all the way up from 0 through 9, and then 6-letter characters. So it's a 16 base, that's the word hexadecimal. It's a 16 base way of counting. That's where it comes from. So you can use those, again, in your designs. So this, again, could be my light sky blue. I don't know how to pick it here. Light sky blue. There we go. And we can put it there. So again, this is in light sky blue. The other thing that makes it good, as far as what I mean good, is what you're looking at the color again is the color profile. Again, if I went and I changed that profile to a different profile, it's going to affect the appearance. So again, I tend to keep it in sRGB, which is like the default when I'm working. Okay, so if you change the profile, the color may look different. And the reason why is you want to be able to show your client or the person that you're working with the proper color when you're demonstrating to them. Hey, this is what your design's going to be, right? So don't forget about profiles. That helps. Okay, let's talk about choosing colors and the websites that you might want to use. Again, right here is a link. And let's blow off fonts for a moment. Let's jump down to color. There's a whole bunch of color websites. Again, Apple has their color guide right here using RGB values, right? RGB values. And they list the RGB values right there, just like you would put in Photoshop or put into Sketch. All right? And so on. You can work with the transparency as well. And so on. So again, they have some color management. Again, sRGB is the default. Okay, so try and use sRGB as the color profile. Okay, see it right there? Standard RGB, I guess, is what S stands for. I don't know. I didn't know what S stood for, but now I understand. sRGB. Okay, so tend to do that. Preview in sRGB. Okay. Next thing is choosing colors. You have a lot of different websites. You got Coolers. Okay, super fast color scheme generator. This one's kind of interesting, and you get an app if you want. You can start generating colors right away. Do you want to watch a tutorial? Okay. Next. We choose a color. Next. You can click hex values as well. Next. Next. You can save, or you can actually take a picture. So let's say you like a photo. Say, oh man, the photos in this picture are beautiful. Those photos would be great for my design. You can import a photo and it will choose like the most popular 5 colors from that photo and give you those 5 colors that you can use in your design. Let's see it right here. And then it shows you shades, values, variation values, and refine your palette and save as a PNG, PDF, SVG, SCSS, or copy the link, save your color scheme, so on, that's all, boom. And so, again, you can just click a color and adjust it as well. Here's where you can choose a photo. Let's open a photo. Let's take Gene's bike pic. That doesn't have much color in it. How about the polar bear one? There we go. And so it gives you values based upon there. You can actually move the picture, move the thing around as well. And I don't know. I don't have a lot of space on here. So return. And so there we go. It gave me my polar bear color scheme right there. Kind of interesting, right? Then you can save it or adjust it. Looks right here, it gives you the hexadecimal value right there. And you can unlock it and adjust it if you want. Maybe you need a dark one. Then you can export it. The nice thing about exporting it as a PDF is that you can then go and adjust. You also have binary colors. What else do we have? Where was the export? SVG, PDF. And it gives you all the values. So here's a PDF. So you have the hex value, RGB value, HSV value, CMYK value right there. So a nice color scheme. Boom. Use this, put that in your proposal, and use those colors in your color design. So you should think about that. Try and follow a color scheme at first. I know you go in there and tweak it a little bit, but it's nice. So this one was okay. I don't really like this one as much as this is all right. It's a PDF. Again, it's open, so you can include that. Here's the Adobe one. Right, this is an Adobe website. One of the nice things about the Adobe one is you can save the swatch and bring it right into Photoshop, Illustrator, or something like that. So in this case, here's the Adobe one. And you have all these different ways of looking at the color wheel. If you don't know what those are, you can come down here and read the jargon. Let's read the jargon. 6 color schemes. Okay. And so monochromatic means one color with different tints of color, right? The tints, monochromatic. Basic color scheme is nonetheless effective. A monochromatic scheme uses only one dominant color or different shades of the same color which complement each other well, monochromatic. So again, in here you can choose monochromatic. Again, it only has one, but you can adjust. See how I can go down again? And I know there's not a lot of space. Whoosh. I have to move this around a little bit. And as you can see, it's just one color scheme. Right? Monochromatic. The second one, great for minimalist design, they say, the monochromatic, right? You want to just have a simple design. I'd like to have at least one highlight color in a monochromatic. They give you an example, right? Analogous, or whatever you would call this, A-N-A-L-O-G-O-U-S. Color scheme relies on colors next to each other on the color scheme. This creates a more attractive design. It's easy on the eye. I guess if it's not super saturated. Again, they show you a sample here. Again, back on the website, we can choose that as well. And you have all the different colors that you want. Again, moving inside will give you less saturated. You know, outside is very saturated, less saturated. The other nice thing about this is that you can go and it gives you, again, the hexadecimal values. You can actually type in hexadecimal values. Remember I said I love my light sky blue, right? 33CCFF tab, and it puts it in there. So you can go and add your own hexadecimal values to this scheme. Okay. The next one, complementary colors, right? Complementary colors are, of course, the opposite each other. What's the opposite of yellow? Purple, right? Opposite of orange? Blue. Opposite of red? Green. Christmas theme there. Again, on the website, you can choose complementary colors. Again, they have 3 on this side and 2 on this side. Of course, the downfall of complementary colors is that, you know, since they're such opposites, it's tough to have things over top of each other. Again, you can type in hexadecimal values. Whoosh, look at this. Great for, oh, there. Triatic. Triatic is the safest of the color schemes. Implemented 3 perfectly balanced colors joined by an equilateral triangle on the wheel. Again, in this program, you can put in the triad and you can choose your color scheme that way. Split complementary. I don't know. Compound maybe. Then they have shades, which is one color with multiple shades. And then custom, where you make your own. This program, as well as the other one, I believe you can import an image as well. Remember, I did the polar bear. Same with this. You can choose. I don't know what this is. I don't know. So you can bring in a photo. Right there as well. If you have an Adobe account, you can save these themes in your theme. So if you sign into your Adobe account, if you remember your password, and it'll save your theme. So if I choose a color scheme, as you notice, I tend not to like very saturated colors. I do like the saturated orange though. You can save your theme. You can give your theme a name. Your themes can then follow you wherever you want to go. I have themes from years ago in here somewhere. You can download the ASE. What is the ASE? It is the swatch for Photoshop. So if I click on that, I don't know why it doesn't download. I was having problems downloading the other day as well. What did I have to do to download this? I had to view. Save the library. Jeff's book theme. We did it from a book, didn't we, or something like that? I don't know. It's in my library. Oh, I have 18. Look at that. I have 18 of them. There we go. You can also download the theme. Oh, it looks like it's for Illustrator. ASE. But you could use that in Photoshop as well. But when you're working with the colors, again, I tend to like to use just a there. So you can look at other people's color themes as well, and so on. So again, that's an Adobe product. The Adobe color.adobe.com. Let's just do a couple more real quick. This one's interesting where it gives you sample colors and it'll make a palette and give you suggestions on what you like and dislike. Okay, so this one's there's a link in there. This one's it's called palatable.io. So again, if you like that one, you can say, oh, I like that one too, and I like that one. I dislike that one. I dislike that one. It'll keep giving you one. Oh, you say I like that one. Boom. And then the last one, I don't like that one. Oh, I do like that one. Boom. And then it gives you a URL or a PNG. If you say URL, it'll give you a copy of this. You can copy that URL. You can go and it'll just basically give you a page with the colors on it. Same thing. See it? You could share that with somebody. You can adjust them. You can also export out as a PNG. And you can open it in whatever. See, here's a PNG. So that's a very simple one. It's not too complex. Palatable. This one's interesting in that it gives you a sample of what the page would look like on a web page. So this one, Peloton.com. Peloton? It sounds like a clothing company, doesn't it? You can change your scheme. This one I don't. It's kind of difficult to use. Hold down Shift to move things individually. There we go. But the nice thing about this one is you can go and see what it will look like on a web page. Ooh, look at that web page. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so it gives you kind of like a sample page of what it might look like. Also, in this one, you can export out. You got dark pages, positive pages, negative pages. Whoosh! Look at that. Again, though, you can export out all the values. You can export out HTML, CSS, and so on. So, very useful there. We already did colors, didn't we? Adobe product. What is this one? Oh, Adobe has a color app where you can generate colors from a picture you take on your phone. Right. This is again the app. You can get it at the App Store. So that's kind of interesting. And here's the hexadecimal values, color hex. Kind of very similar.
gives you values, and so on. So there's a lot of color websites out there. How do you use color? I don't know. Remember our theme that we had before? Right? So think about what you're trying to express in your color. Android has its own color scheme. In the material design, if you haven't researched or done, you don't want to watch the 40 whiners over the weekend. No, we're going to lose. So you should read the material design info. Very good. How Android works is by choosing kind of a solid saturated color. And they use this scale value, which is like a tint value to it. And then they give you a complementary kind of color to go along with it. So in the material design, your app primary and secondary colors and their variants help create a color theme that is harmonious and ensures accessibility text and distinguishes UI elements and surface from one another. Okay, again, surfaces. You should think about how material design was invented by Google was by using paper, right? If you've ever seen the videos, it's very interesting. They have some interesting videos. But basically, they took paper, right, and then they photographed paper and how the shadow interacts, as things are raised up and brought down, raised up and brought down. Okay, so in the material design, there's some videos you should go and try and watch on YouTube. It's very interesting on how they came up with the way that material, and that's why it says surfaces here, right? So the idea is to select the primary and secondary color and generate light and dark variants of each of these. Use the material design palette tool. They have a theme editor or 2014 material design palettes. And so one interesting way of choosing colors, very saturated, right? They're very kind of solid colors, a little different than the Apple. Apple kind of uses somewhat solid colors, but more lights and darks, I would say, and Android uses more color. If you've ever seen the Android operating system, right? It's very colorful material kind of design. Again, these are the main concepts here. And then, again, you have a primary color, a variant, and a secondary color, and a secondary variant. And then, of course, you have whites and darks, air, and so on. So this would be kind of a material design color scheme. And that doesn't mean you can't do that in iOS as well. I mean, it's just a concept, okay? It's not, But Android, kind of wants you to sort of follow this guidelines so that all the Android apps kind of work together. Here's a little video that shows you how they choose colors. So first you have your primary color, and then your secondary color, and of course you have your button right there. So again, they have a primary color, secondary color, and you'll see with the material design, they have the dark above, then they have the main tab at the top here, and then of course the buttons. Again, it has a shadow around it, hence the material design has a shadow, very shadow oriented. And so they give you some examples of a design using that. Again, can you see the shadow around the button? The purpose of the shadow is to show surfaces above each other like a layer. And here's another example. Oh, I love the cat. Isn't that cute? Here's another example. Then, of course, air colors and so on. Black and white, contrast. How text would relate to it. When does it change to black text? You see that? You can get this material design palette for Sketch as well as Photoshop. I'll show you how to download those and use them because they're already there available. Android gives you that on their website. You can just download it and you can import that right into the programs. So you have a palette already there. I'll demonstrate how to do that. Not today. I'm going to run out of time. Maybe next class we can do something like that. Still want you to think about your drawing. The reason why I don't want to start showing you, how to use the software today and things like that is you dive right into the software and you're losing your you get kind of stuck. I remember I was interviewing people at Infogrames, which is a game company, and I was interviewing the people that worked on games there. And the one guy was just like, he's like, I tried to avoid using the software until the last minute. And he's like, once you start using the software, you dive right into it, and you just start choosing colors and doing things in there, and you get kind of stuck, is the way he put it, because you're stuck in the software. Whereas you back out a little bit and plan a little bit more before you dive into the software, it'll go faster and probably work out better in the long run. It'll take less time. So think about planning a little bit more. That's why I'm showing you these tools here. You start thinking about your color scheme. Use one of these tools that I just showed you today and start choosing a color scheme. Maybe then take that color scheme and put some text inside of Illustrator or Photoshop or Sketch or something and just see what they look like. Is it going to work? Don't even think about necessarily your project. Just go and use those colors and see how they look, right? You don't have to, just practice. So again, I think, Android did a very good job of planning this, and, it was something that they thought about and did a lot of, and again, they give you the hexadecimal values as well. See that? So they did a very good job of planning this. It took them many years, though. This is not something that happened overnight. All right, Google has billions of dollars, don't they? So, they can put time and effort into things like this and hire some really smart people. Of course, not to let Apple has their own color way of doing things as well. The key to doing the Apple one again is, they have saturated colors, but it's just a little bit different. They have their boxes that are very similar. They went really colorful like this when they went to the watch, right? But the problem with the watch was such a small screen that they really had to think about how to get the stuff to work on such a small, tiny screen. And so, these colors started coming out, I think, because of the watch. In the dark mode and the light mode. And then we could dive right into typography. So, again, let's dive right into typography again since we're already here. Let me finish with my color. Again, I want you to think about a color scheme, and you should use one of those tools and add that color theme that you come up with to your proposal. You don't necessarily have to use the tool. Maybe you just use, markers or whatever. I don't really care. But you should have in your proposal a page that describes the colors that you're going to use, and maybe you should have written down where the color would be used. You could have a swatch and say, this is my background color. You have a swatch and say, this is my headline color. There's a swatch. This is my font color, typography color. Here's the border on my photos. I don't know. You should describe the colors in your proposal and where they would be used in your design. And same with the typography. You should be describing the font you're going to use in your final proposal and what size. Again, if you don't have the San Francisco, you can simply go and download the San Francisco font right here and include it into your tools. If you don't have San Francisco, basically what is it? It's kind of like a Helvetica version of Helvetica. Helvetica Nouveau is what it used to be, right? Until they changed it to San Francisco. You can use the font inside of Xcode. They're showing you some examples of how to do the type here. Okay. This is just examples of the code. Okay. Apple uses what they call dynamic text that can change in size according to the device that the people are using. That's why you'll see it says use built-in text styles whenever possible. Do you see that? Now for this class, we don't have to worry about that. You're just making an example of what the screen will look like. But if you're going to program using Xcode or something, you can use their built-in scheme here, right? And that's what they're showing you here. If you click on this, when I'm programming my body text, I can use this UI font text style body, and it's optimized for your device, for your app. And what I mean by that is it's dynamic and you can change size and adjust according to the Apple device, right? Because there's so many different versions of this, right? You got big screens, small screens, iPads compared to iPhones, and so on. So that's what they talk about here. Again, they give you point size, leading size, tracking size here. Okay. What does this mean? Well, leading is what? The space between the lines of text, right? Tracking is basically the space between the letters. Is that it? And then size is the point size. And so on. And so they give you a whole bunch of different options there. Not too much detail because they're really pushing you to use San Francisco, basically. If you don't have San Francisco, can you use another font? Sure. You can use other fonts. You can include the font in your app as well. I believe that's as long as you own it, or so there's some legal things there, but I think it's possible. We used our own font in the apps last semester. Material design also has its typography. So just like in iOS, material design has type. It's not me. Again, now, of course, the Android uses Roboto. Right? And look, they use H1, H2, H2, the HTML kind of way, right? And you can have light, regular, so on. Android is a little bit different kind of measuring things. We'll talk about this next class, I think, or maybe the class after that, the DP measuring. But you can see a font here. Again, fonts.google.com is the website that has the fonts on it. Right? They have material design type scale for Sketch. So it's a plugin for Sketch. There's a whole bunch of plugins I will show you. If you want to do some research, you might want to do that now. You can go to, go to Google and type in Sketch plugins. And there's a whole website for all these different plugins for Sketch. There's hundreds of them. I'll talk about probably the more popular ones. Then they talk about how to scale. It's a very interesting way of using it. You can, programming wise, and so on. So they talk about typography, baseline shift, baseline. So there's a lot to it. I think they got a lot of very good information on the material design website. So that was the Android one. And then we looked at that. So let's just briefly, we're almost out of time here. Let's just quickly talk about the web fonts, right? Web fonts. So if you're making a website, how do I deal with typography on a website? If you remember back, there was no, you couldn't use typography on your website. You remember the days where you had to use the machine font, the font that was installed on the system? You couldn't use any font you wanted. If you remember back again, 1997, the most pivotal year in the web, right? 1997, Internet Explorer 3 came out. Revolutionary browser. Internet Explorer 3. And of course, Microsoft included the ability to use downloadable fonts in Internet Explorer 3. And of course, the first day it came out, Adobe sued them and said you can't do that, because Adobe owned most of the fonts back then. And Adobe said you can't have downloadable fonts because you'd be violating the licensing agreement. When you buy a font, you buy it for that computer. If anybody goes to the web page and they see that font that's downloadable, you're violating the licensing agreement. So for years, we were stuck with having to use default fonts on people's computers because of that. And then maybe when CSS3 came out, and what was it, maybe 10 years ago, we started using downloadable fonts. Mostly because Adobe didn't own all the fonts anymore. People started making their own fonts, right? Hey, let's just make our own fonts and put them online. Like Google, right? So if you're making a website, probably the best way to use an online font, right? So you go to fonts.google.com. You have all these fonts that you can use on your website, right? Easiest way is to just link to it, right? You can add the font you want with a little plus right there. You see it? Add the font you want. Little plus right there. So you add your fonts that you like, and then when you're all done, you go and get the code right there. I copy this code right there, put it in my web code right there. In my CSS, I call it right there, and boom, I'm using fonts on my website. Beautiful fonts. So very useful. They tell you how fast it will take to download and that. Of course, this only works if this website is online, right? I've had this problem before where their website goes down and you can't see the appropriate fonts. The other problem I have is I have multiple designers working on one website. They all want to use their own damn font. And they link to multiple style sheets like this. And then so you have a whole bunch of these on your site, and then it starts slowing things down. That's why they give you a little slow time thing here. So it's a problem when you have multiple people working on a website. Right? And most
websites are done by a team of people, and over time they start changing fonts, adding fonts, deleting fonts. It just turns into a big mess after a while, though.
But if I'm making a website, you should, if you are doing this and you're making your website for this class, I would like to see what font you're going to use. Another great place, of course, is the Adobe Typekit, right? Didn't I have a link to that? Fonts.adobe.com. Quality fonts at your fingertips. Unlimited fonts. Choose as many as you need from thousands of options. No extra charges. All fonts are included in your Creative Cloud subscription. Already licensed. Everything is here clear for a personal and commercial use. Get started. And then again, you have the ability to activate the font. I don't know what that means. Deactivate. And again, they give you a link that you can link to your website. I mean, what a day. Isn't that beautiful? Back in the day, I was limited to what? Verdana, Helvetica, Times. You know, back 20 years ago, 10 years ago, we were limited to just basic fonts. But now we have so much more creative ways of doing fonts. It's amazing. I don't really use the Adobe ones, to tell you the truth, or the Adobe Typekit. If I program a website, I use the Google one. I just find it easier. I don't know. Did you see how easy it was? Boom, boom. I just clicked on the Google, got the code, boom, pasted in my HTML, boom, linked to it using CSS, boom, it's on the screen. I can do that in seconds. This is a little complicated for me. I haven't really tried it. That's why. If I use the Adobe Typekit, maybe Gene teaches it in a typography class. I have no idea. Okay, I don't know. So what I want you to do is remember the colors. Include the colors in your proposal. Use some of those online tools. Include fonts and where your fonts and size even would be good. You can make sample sizes and put those in your proposal. It would be good. Think about it. It can change over time, and you might do, but I'm just saying you should include those in your proposal. Maybe that's something you add at the very end after you've come up with your design. I understand that. It's not something that you have to plan right away. It evolves and changes, but I'm talking about it now. You should start thinking about it. Any other web font kind of thing? What was the, again, the icon is what? The Moon, what was it? Moon.io? Was that it? What was the Moon.io? What was the font, the icon fonts? Is that the, it better not be porn, huh? Thank you. I hate when I start typing random things into the damn browser, stuff shows up. What was it? Was it Moon? No, what was it? Icon fonts? It was about 10 years ago we came up with icon fonts. I demonstrated that before, didn't I? Oh, Font Awesome. Font Awesome, Font Awesome. Again, Font Awesome, you can get, I mean, the beauty of using Font Awesome or things like that is that you can program the icons in your website by using fonts. Much easier than trying to use graphics. The beauty of fonts is that they're scalable. You can change the color of them, right? So as far as icon design or icons on your website, you can use things like Font Awesome or what was the other one that I was using to convert it? I swear, was it Moon? Moon. Here it is, iconmoon.io, this one. This is the one I've used. Okay, so how do I use this? Okay, make your icons in Illustrator or steal them. Remember we were stealing from, what was it? The Noun project, right? Make them
you take your icons and you use this website. You upload them, and it makes a font suitcase. It gives you, you know, like when you download a font, you have a suitcase. That's what's called a suitcase. That's where all the fonts are stored in the file, right? Then you take that font suitcase and you link it to your website, and then you put the icons on your website by using programming for the font suitcase, right? And the beauty of doing that is that you can then use the icons on your website, and you can use all the typography tricks that you can, right? You can do transparency on a font, you can do color on a font, and so on. So if you're into web design, instead of using all the default crappy things, you can make your own custom things, make a suitcase out of them, link to that suitcase, because when I say link, is you never, you know, everything on the website is linked, it's not in one file. Link it to your website and then program it. And it even gives you the code. So you import your icons into this website, it gives you a font suitcase, and it tells you how to program the icon on your website. It even gives you the code. Usually it's a number.
So, very useful. I don't know if you want to try it. I could demonstrate. It's been a while since I've done this. But usually what I do, again, is I take and make the icons inside of Illustrator and then save them as SVG and then upload them to this website, and then it makes this font suitcase. Great way of putting graphics on your website. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Almost out of time.